Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Upwards. I've been thinking about something lately, like this really interesting phenomenon that happens with gym memberships. I mean, we've all been there, right, Carl? That whole excitement of signing up and then, well,
Oh, absolutely. You're hitting on something so real here. I was just looking at some fascinating statistics about this the other day. Something like 80% of people who sign up for gym memberships in January basically stop going by, well, mid-February. And the really interesting thing is that this pattern, it just keeps repeating year after year.
that's actually a pretty wild statistic and like exactly what I wanted to dive into today because, well, it's such a universal experience, isn't it?
It totally is. And you know what's even more interesting? People keep falling into this same pattern, even when they're aware of it. Like there's something deeper going on here that we really need to unpack.
So, Carl, I'm really curious about what's actually happening in our brains when we like sign up for that membership, in that moment when we're so sure this time will be different.
This is where it gets fascinating. There's this thing psychologists call the intention-action gap. And it's basically the difference between what we think we'll do and what we actually end up doing. Like, our brain is really good at making these grand plans for our future self, but not so great at understanding how that future self will actually feel.
Um, that's super interesting, but like, why do we keep falling for it? I mean, shouldn't we learn from experience or something?
That's the thing. We're actually dealing with what's called optimism bias. You see, when we're signing up for that membership, we're basically picturing our best possible self. We're imagining ourselves as this super motivated person who's going to jump out of bed at 5 a.m., totally ready to crush that workout.
So we're kind of setting ourselves up to fail from the start.
Well, it's more that we're not accounting for what I call the reality factors. Things like being tired after work, or how it feels on a cold morning, or just the general stress of daily life. Our present self is essentially making promises that our future self will have to keep, without really considering all these real-world challenges.
And I'm guessing this ties into something about willpower too, right?
Exactly. This is actually one of the biggest misconceptions people have. We tend to think of willpower as this unlimited resource, but research shows it's more like a muscle that can get tired. So when we're planning our fitness journey, we're basically assuming we'll have this endless supply of motivation and willpower, which, well, just isn't how our brains work.
I've noticed that a lot of people like start out super excited, but then just um sort of fade away. What are the main things that trip people up?
One of the biggest issues we see at Upwards is that people tend to dive in way too fast. They'll go from basically no exercise to planning these intense 2-hour workouts 5 days a week. And that's just, well, it's setting yourself up for burnout, right?
Oh my gosh, I've totally done that. But what else tends to get in the way?
So here's the thing, most people don't actually plan for the logistics. They're not thinking about traffic after work, or when they'll prep their gym bag, or even what they'll actually do once they get to the gym. They just sort of show up and wing it.
That makes so much sense. Like you're already tired from work and then you have to figure everything out on the spot.
Exactly. And there's another really interesting factor at play here. People often tie their gym goals to these really aggressive transformation targets. They're thinking, I'm going to lose 30 pounds in 2 months, or I'll have six-pack abs by summer. When they don't see those dramatic results quickly enough, they just lose steam.
So it's kind of like we're not being realistic about the whole process.
That's absolutely right. And you know what else? Most people don't account for what I call the lifestyle adjustment period. Your body needs time to adapt to new movement patterns. Your schedule needs to adjust, and even your social circle might need to shift a bit. When people don't prepare for these changes, they often feel overwhelmed and just throw in the towel.
So, what can people actually do about this? Like, what really works to keep that motivation going?
You know what? There are some really effective strategies that we've seen work time and time again here at Upwards. First off, and this is absolutely crucial, find yourself a workout buddy. Someone who's going to text you when you're thinking of skipping. Someone who's waiting for you at the gym.
Oh, that's actually super helpful. But like, what if you can't find someone with the same schedule?
Well, here's the thing. You don't necessarily need a traditional workout buddy. You could join group fitness classes where people start to expect you, or even connect with an online fitness community. The key is creating that sense of accountability, right?
And what about those goals we talked about earlier? How do we make those more manageable?
So this is really important. Instead of focusing on these massive transformation goals, we want to break things down into tiny achievable wins, like seriously tiny. Maybe your first goal is just getting to the gym twice a week for 20 minutes. That's it.
Just twice a week? That doesn't sound so scary.
Exactly. And here's another game changer. Pair your workout with something you actually enjoy. Maybe you save your favorite podcast for gym time only, or you treat yourself to a really nice smoothie after. The idea is to create positive associations with the experience.
That makes so much sense. What about the planning part? Like, how do we make that easier?
The key is to remove as many decision points as possible. Pack your gym bag the night before. Plan your workouts for the week in advance. Maybe even sleep in your workout clothes if you're going in the morning. You know what I mean? The less you have to think about it, the more likely you are to follow through.
So, let me see if I can wrap my head around everything we've talked about today on Upwards. It's really about making the gym feel less like this huge, overwhelming thing and more like, just part of your regular routine.
That's exactly it. And you know what I think is the real takeaway here? It's not about this massive transformation or complete lifestyle overhaul. It's about taking these small, totally manageable steps that we can actually stick with.
And I really love what you said about making it more enjoyable, like with the workout buddy and those positive associations.
Absolutely. Listen, sustainable fitness isn't about willpower or motivation. It's about creating systems that work for you. Start small, be consistent, and most importantly, and I really want everyone to hear this, be patient with yourself. This is a journey, not a race.
I feel like that's actually super empowering, Like, we don't have to become fitness superheroes overnight.
Exactly. And remember, every single time you show up for yourself, even if it's just for 20 minutes, you're building those foundations for lasting change. That's what really matters in the long run.
Thanks for joining us today, Carl. And folks, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Upwards. And remember, the only direction is moving forward, one step at a time. Until next time, keep moving forward.